Most of the well-known teachers in awakening and non-duality have an incomplete understanding of addiction. Yes, in one sense, we could say that the illusion of separation creates a profound sense of lack and dissatisfaction, which drives us to seek wholeness and fulfillment through substances and addictive behaviors, a fruitless attempt to permanently remedy the pain of our perceived incompleteness. However, a lot of teachers have not experienced a certain depth of emotional pain or trauma, so they don't actually know how it manifests in experience. Addictions can creep into any of our lives, but the most insidious ones are the ones that start as attempts to soothe our deep stuck emotions and trauma. Imagine you're in great physical pain and you desperately want a painkiller. Are you going to be receptive to someone who says it's the feeling of lack and incompleteness that makes you want the painkiller? Not really, because it doesn't just feel like lack and incompleteness. It feels like excruciating pain that many others don't even know or believe exists. They think trauma is in the mind, not realizing that it's actually a physically wounded brain and nervous system that's stuck in a permanent state of extreme physical discomfort, so they can't really have much understanding or empathy and come up with simplistic notions about letting go of the past or recognizing your wholeness, although very well-meaning intentions. This addiction is something that you've got into the habit of doing regularly, which you know is damaging your health, you know it's not good for your body and brain, and that you are perpetually self-harming or even slowly committing suicide. And yet, despite knowing your best, you continue to do it day after day, seemingly unable to control your behavior. You may well feel like you're pretty accomplished in other areas of your life or pretty disciplined in certain areas, and yet there's this other thing or other few things in your life that you may have been trying to knock on the head for years, and yet these old habits just seem to drag on. And the worst thing is, it's actually completely out of alignment with what you desire in life and who you desire to be. Perhaps you want a particular career, business success, or relationship, but can you really imagine it happening whilst you have this current habit? Would the person who has the success or the relationship you want really be a person who's doing those things on the regular? Or are these things that we keep going back to over and over again not in fact ways which we try to soothe the pain and dissatisfaction of what feels missing in our life? Are they not just substandard replacements for what we'd truly love to be doing? When we try to drop an addiction, psychological and physical stress and pain quickly manifests in the body and nervous system. This stress and pain feels distracting and like it gets in the way of doing what we want to do in life. And then we feel like we need the addiction to soothe the stress and pain so we can get on with our life and be productive and feel like we're functioning like a normal human being. And yet, it's catch-22 because the addiction itself is distracting and takes up time and drives anxiety about its potential long-term negative effects. The key is to want that stress and pain and the peace that's on the other side of it more than the soothing effect of the addictive behavior that's trying to immunize against it. The key is to realize that the stress and pain presents itself in consciousness as physical bodily sensations, energetic dysregulation, and perhaps some more intense seeming thoughts for a while. But this is only temporary, and it cannot harm you. In rarer cases like extreme alcohol or drug addiction, you may need to reduce intake in stages, otherwise it can be dangerous because of the body's physical dependency. But in a lot of cases, you can stop this addiction cold turkey, and all that's going to happen is a period of physical and psychological discomfort. When we conceptualize ourselves to be a separate, limited person, listening to the thought narrative in our minds and believing it to be ourselves, it feels like this stress and pain is happening to me. There's this concept of yourself, and within that, the pain or stress feelings seem like they're happening to you to this concept of yourself, which creates the psychological suffering. When we relax as the open awareness of our true nature, the pain or stress feelings are simply present. They may not be comfortable, but they're not happening to anyone. They're simply happening. Instead of trying to push the feelings away and get back to feeling good again, we be consciously the space around the feelings, recognizing the simplicity of their sensation-like quality. And we notice how this aware space that we are naturally accepts them just by its nature. We notice that there's no separate entity, no separate concept of ourself that these thoughts and feelings are happening to. Instead, they're simply thoughts and feelings appearing in open awareness. As simply resting as the one who's looking, the initial stress and psychological pain of stopping the addiction can manifest itself within the nervous system and as these physical sensations, and yet it's not resisted, it's accepted, and this process allows it to begin processing and resolving itself. Through the lens of resistance and this concept of ourself trying to avoid the pain of stopping the addiction, the apparently uncomfortable state seems unappealing. But in true self-knowledge, knowing yourself to be unharmed by these temporary states, one can engage with them and realize they're what's desired. The stress of stopping one addiction can be transmuted into the energy to get things done that have been backing up for a while behind your preoccupation with the addiction. The temporary low energy or depressed state of stopping another addiction can serve as the deep rest and recuperation you need to feel clear, energetic, and vibrant again. So, whilst temporarily uncomfortable, we can enjoy these things as much as possible whilst they last. We must remember that we don't actually want comfort and relaxation all the time. We do all kinds of things to purposely make ourselves feel uncomfortable, to stretch ourselves, to learn and grow, or create great works of art. And so we can actually leverage the temporary discomfort of stopping an addiction as a springboard to new heights of expression. By stopping a repetitive compulsive behavior and allowing what's repressed underneath to come to surface, we allow it to be transmuted into creative power. The great irony is that the more we are finally honest with ourselves, admitting that this thing we've been addicted to is never, ever a net benefit positive to ourselves and is always self-destructive. And actually, our life is 100,000 times better without it, the less any apparent withdrawal symptoms seem to be. Humans create stories about how apparently addictive some things are in order to warn ourselves against doing them. And yet what's even more ironic is this often fuels us getting hooked on them anyway, as we believe they're so addictive and therefore so hard to get off. There's so much hype around how apparently addictive cigarettes are, and nicotine is. I remember when I thought nicotine was addictive as heroin. I actually believed that. But when I tried to stop, I had all these crazy intense withdrawal symptoms that felt very physiological and unique to stopping nicotine. So it must be what's causing it, right? Little did I know it was my belief and the societal brainwashing that was causing most of it. As soon as I was open to life being better without it, and the possibility that it's not as addictive as I thought, when I stopped, I barely had any withdrawal symptoms at all, to the point that it was actually quite weird. I was previously anticipating this giant wave of stress and physical discomfort and had experienced it before. Yet day after day went by, and compared to my expectations of it, it was all pretty relatively mild. If anything, I was looking for some increased energy and focus, and the increased jolts of stress and energy I was feeling in my nervous system, with no option to soothe it by puffing nicotine, just end up being transmuted into intense focus on other things that I wanted to do anyway. Often, the physical and emotional state you perceive is going to be so bad once it actually happens, actually has some spice to it that you've been looking for a while. It makes you want to move or rest or process your emotions or take a ton of massive action on your business or projects or level up your personal growth and development. The addiction never shifts when you're perceiving it to be worse on the other side, like you're going to stop the thing and apparently lose something. You're apparently going to miss out, and life is apparently going to be worse as you experience the pain and suffering of going without it. Yet, once you embrace the other side and realize that it's what you actually want, because you love the temporary discomfort of quitting, you love to transmute it into expansion, you love life free from the anxiety of self-harming, you love being able to breathe and think and operate without the chains of this weight and constant distraction. You love the freedom. Once you embrace all of that, you don't even want to do it anymore. Peace.